We are live, fans, once again on the Cheap Heat Productions podcast network. My name is Jack Kilby at No Gimmicks Guy, and I've got a man on today that is truly a veteran who has seen and done it all, not only in the indies in the Ontario area, but really internationally as well. He's well known for his technical ability, his brawling, and we've got a lot to talk about in terms of his career. So Jake O'Reilly, Irish Jake O'Reilly, welcome to the show, sir.
Jack, thanks, man. Nice intro. Appreciate all that. Nice line to the customers already. It's beautiful. I love it.
Well, you know, you've really which we'll get into through the questions, but you've been in this business for over 2 decades, but
yeah.
The fans are quite interested usually in a baseline, which was, you know, were you a fan of the business growing up? And if so, did you have any particular, I don't want to say interest, but companies that you followed and individuals?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm old, like you said. I've been in the business 22 years, 41 years old. So I had WWF. That's it, because that's the only channel we got. But to be honest with you, I didn't get into wrestling until I was about 12 years old. That's when the local channel got it. We got Monday Night Raw. We got Superstars on Saturday. And that was it, man. Immediately hooked. Immediately Bret Hart, my favorite. But yeah, growing up, my dad was not a wrestling. Well, he was, but turns out, but he was a closeted wrestling fan. So all we had was NHL and the Toronto Blue Jays growing up in the household. That was it. There was no wrestling talk ever. So when I saw it, man, that was it for me. Obsessed immediately.
Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where you know, you came to an epiphany that, you know, this is something that I want to pursue as a career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a specific moment. I just know that, like, I'm the type of guy that once I get into something, I become obsessed with it and have to take it as far as I can, which can be a good thing or bad thing depending on what it is. But with pro wrestling, it was immediately like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I have to build a wrestling ring in my backyard. I have to invite all my friends over. We have to invite the one nerdy guy with a camera. So we'll put him in there too. Turns out now he's one of my best buddies. Shout out to Vinny Pizon. But that was what it was for me. It was just almost, like I said, an immediate obsession. Trying to find a wrestling school long before I was able to be accepted to one. I mean, not a good one anyway, but like I was writing letters to Sully's Gym in Toronto, trying to get in. They were saying, yeah, when you're 18, you can come, you know, try out. But in the meantime, come to our shows and buy our t-shirts, right? You've heard that story 1,000 times. So I got lucky. I got in with Eric Young through a connection that again, one of the best buddies now, Tornado, hooked me up with Eric Young when I was 18, and that was it, man.
In terms of your training process per se, a lot of the vets talk about, you know, how different it was from, say, the cookie cutter sort of approach that at least the major organizations tend to put their students through. Was yours as physically demanding as you know, we've come to hear about the former generation's training?
Not at all. I got very blessed to be pointed towards Eric Young in that direction. I know a lot of other schools were that old school way, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but when I got to Japan, that's how the training was. But his viewpoint was, you are here to learn pro wrestling, not to learn weightlifting and calisthenics. You can do your cardio on your own. You're paying me to teach you how to bump and wrestle safely without dying, and that's what I'm going to teach you. And that's what he did. So no, obviously it's physical. Any pro wrestling training, you've never hit the mat. I don't know if you've ever hit a mat before. It's no trampoline, it's no mattress. You're hitting that plywood, and at the time I'm 180 pounds. It's going to hurt no matter what you do. But as far as squats and push-ups and stuff, no, there was none of that, man. It was just pure wrestling from day one.
Do you think that it's a, you know, a disadvantage, so to speak, to wrestlers who sort of, you know, they're groomed from day one that this is the quote unquote, and I'll use WWE because it's the obvious example, but they're groomed from day one. this is the style, here's the hard cam, this is a TV product. Do you think business has suffered in not coming up in the way that you did, and that ability to really, and which we'll talk about, that I had personal experience with you at a show to sense what the crowd wants. It's a good story. Sense what the crowd wants and call it in the ring, or make those adjustments that they just don't seem to teach them now?
I mean, it depends what your goal is. We can talk philosophically about wrestling all day long. If your goal is to wrestle on TV, that is the way you should learn. I believe that. I never, we weren't taught that way. We were taught the old fashioned way, right? Like you said, listening to the crowd. And honestly, we weren't taught that either. But if I'm really being honest with you, we were taught how to fall down, not die, and not kill your opponent. The rest we learned on our own in the ring. And luckily we had good mentors, and I had good mentors, you know, Tornado, Tyson Dukes, Cody Deaner, those guys, helping me along the way. Is it beneficial to train with the cameras and stuff? Absolutely. Is it beneficial to learn the other way? Probably not as much now, because they're gonna, if you get to WWE, if you're using that example, they're gonna put you in their system and teach you that way anyway. So if your goal is to wrestle independently and learn the actual art of pro wrestling, then yeah, it's awesome, man. That's the way you should do it. I know you got to go a lot of ways with that question.
Yeah, for sure. I get
no
it.
Wrong answer, really.
I've got a fan question, which I obviously have on the list, but we'll bump it up in terms of priority for this.
Cool.
They're asking what it was like to wrestle the alpha male Monty Brown in TNA. How did you? I'm assuming through Eric Young, and what was that experience like?
Eric Young was wrestling. That was at the Asylum in Nashville, so that's the original TNA. The experience, terrifying. I've been in the business. What year did they say that was? 04?
04, I think, is the actual year.
So I'm wrestling maybe a year and a half, 2 years at that point. I'm 180 pounds, skinny. Monty Brown was a linebacker for the New England Patriots, and like, to meet that guy in general, in awe. Also, I just talked to Dusty Rhodes 5 minutes before that. Asked him for advice. No, buddy, you got just go out there and have fun. And I'm like, okay. Like, this whole thing is mind blowing to me at the time. Conan just made fun of me for not knowing who Jeff Garcia was because I'm not a football guy. Long story short, Monty was cool, man. He helped me through that and took care of me. Messed with me a little. He said he was going to throw me into the front row. I was just going with it because I was going to do whatever he said. Not that I would have had much choice. And then he faked it and threw me in the ring. So that was a little rib on me. But yeah, Monty was cool. I've dealt with him a few other times after that, and he's always been a great dude, man. I wish he was still around, honestly. I don't know the story or why he's not wrestling anymore, but he was a great dude and a good wrestler.
Mm-hmm. I think he left the business because he was a stand-up guy and had some sick family members that he was taking care of.
That does not surprise me about him whatsoever, man. One of the coolest dudes, like, from my early wrestling. That I don't subscribe to this theory that you're a superstar, you should be addicted to people, but it happens a lot, and he certainly was not that. He was always just like, every time I go, hey Jake, what's going on, man? Good to see you. And like you're, like I said, you're an NFL football player, one, a huge pro wrestling star, two. You don't have to be nice to this young guy from, Ontario, Canada, but you are, and it's cool.
In terms of TNA in general, I mean, I've got another question, which we'll get into this further in terms of your style, but it seems like you, especially in your later years, would have really fit in there more so than WWE. Did you ever consider TNA as a full-time option, or were you just booked too heavily on the independents?
I did. I think it's hard to get in anywhere. I sent some stuff down. It never really hit. I did some extra work with them in Orlando a few times, that match in Nashville. But my goal was always Japan from day one. So that was where I wanted to be. I mean, TNA would have been cool to wrestle. A bunch of my buddies, Crazy Steve and all those guys wrestled there, Cody Deaner. But it would have been fun. It would have been a great career. It just, I don't think it was meant to be. And I didn't pursue it as hard as I could have either. But no regrets, man.
Absolutely. So rewinding the tape a bit, according to my research, you broke in 2003 with New School Wrestling. and
Yeah.
you tagged with Sean Spears. I wanted to ask you, starting your career in the Canadian indie scene, which especially at that time was some pretty tough going. How did that shape your early development as a wrestler?
I mean, how could I have fallen in with a better group of guys to start with? You know, Crazy Steve, Sean Spears, Cody Diener was at the school all the time. Eric Young's our trainer, TJ Harley. I mean, the list goes on. To get in with those guys who all natural talents. Sean Spears, I mean, he's still going strong. The best wrestler I've ever been in the ring with, tagged with, all that. Yeah, he was in my first match. My first match was for Neo Spirit Pro Wrestling. I know the one you're talking about, though. It was a crazy experience too. But him and Sean and I tagged in the Chin Picnic in Toronto at the CNE in front of 700 people. That was my first ever match.
Wow.
I mean, pretty wild, pretty wild. I was terrified. I had a farmer tan because I was an actual farmer at the time. So yeah, great, man. Great guys to start with. That it shaped my. I mean, you had to bring yourself up to their level, at least as close as you could get. There was no mediocrity in that group, and there's a lot of mediocrity now. I'm not shitting on people. It's just the truth in general. It wasn't allowed. Your friends, those guys were your friends. They wouldn't allow it.
A fan on social media, and we've got a couple of fan questions waiting on deck here live that I'll get to, of course. But a fan on social media asked, because we are Ireland's top pro wrestling and combat sports channel, I got to shout out the Godfather, Cheap Heat, Morris. There you go, Morris Shortall over in the Emerald Isle. But a fan wanted to know about your name and embracing your cultural heritage. How did you pick it? And how has your cultural background influenced your wrestling persona?
I mean, it isn't really a persona or anything. Family immigrated to Boston and then years ago moved into Canada, and we've been here ever since. But I mean, it's an extension of me. It's you know, the Irish stereotype is, you know, drunk, violent, rather settle it with fists than with words. And that's how I was raised too, for better or worse. And that's how I am. And when I was a younger wrestler, that's how I would act too. Now I'm old and tired and don't want to get in a bar fight, but I enjoyed the odd pint and the odd fist fight in the bar when I was young. It's not really a gimmick per se. It is just who I am and who I've always been and who my family's crazier than I am, man. It's a good time at the old family reunion, put it that way.
Awesome. You were part of a stable that I remember called the House of Virtue with a guy that you know well, Andrew Davis and Sebastian Suave. What made this group dynamic special, number one? And then secondly, we're seeing kind of a resurgence in stables. I mean, you've got the Bloodline was a big deal, and then AEW has 5,000 stables at any given time. What are your thoughts on the modern use of stables as opposed to in the past when they were more an attraction, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the House of Virtue, let's start with that. I mean, it was just a way to get a bunch of guys together, and Suave and not so much Andrew Davis at the time, but I think there was a couple other guys in that group, bring those guys up, and again, I was young too. I thought I was better than I was, but and Jamie Virtue was our manager, and he was just a local guy from Oshawa, but he was a great dude, still is, and it was happy to get him on the shows. As far as modern stables goes, yeah, there's a lot of people they have to fit on the shows. I mean, there's a lot more people than there were back in the 80s when it was just the Four Horsemen or, I don't know, the Heenan family. Now it's like, wow, we got to get all these people on somewhere. So even if you're standing in the ring while Sean Spears is talking, at least you're on the show. Rather than, we have this guy under contract and we're not doing anything with him. Or, I mean, it's another thing too. My first thing I did in wrestling was a stable with Sean Spears and Eric Young. We were his bodyguards. It was not because, they wanted another stable. It was because they wanted Sean and I to learn from Eric Young and watch him in the ring at ringside. Or like in Japan, you're a young boy. That's what you do. You sit and watch the matches at ringside, but not so much in North America. So it's another great way to bring that into the fold.
Mm-hmm. As a veteran of the indie scene, what have you learned, in that intimate sort of environment about connecting with the fans and having them invested in your matches. And I'll give you my story now. Going back to about, I attended a number of Rock Solid Pro shows, which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute. But you were in a very small town by the name of Gravenhurst, Ontario, in the high school gym, and you were wrestling Cody Diener, and we were sitting up on the bleachers, and for some reason, you picked me out and said, "There's a tough guy up there," and then you came and you lowered the ropes and started jawing at me, and it really impressed me that you picked some jabroni up out of the the audience and involved that whole group of people immediately. Not that they weren't interested, but you really picked up the attention to the match. Is that something you do a lot, or what's the thought process behind that?
Well, let me start by talking about that specific show. I remember it well. It was not a well-attended show. Am I correct? Not many people there. We decided, when I say we, Rock Solid decided to run unintentionally with the Bala Cranberry Festival 5 minutes down the road, where there's 1 million people. So that was a big mistake. But I mean, back to your question, I don't always do that, but I talk to young guys about this all the time. And wrestling's not about cool moves. That's part of it. Wrestling is about that emotional connection with the audience. So especially in a smaller crowd, I mean, I've wrestled in front of 7,000 people before too. That's easier than wrestling in front of the 15, 20 that were at that show. 15 or 20 people don't want to make noise because they don't want to stand out. 7,000 people, they're all one thing, right? They're a hive at that point. Where you guys in that bleacher section, maybe wouldn't have said anything, maybe wouldn't have made noise. So I had to do something to make that happen, get that emotional connection from you guys. And I'm glad to hear it worked. I do it when I need to. If I don't do it, I try and do it with my actions and storytelling in the ring. But it really depends on where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. One thing I noticed about that, and I commented to my friends, was, man, and we'll talk about Cody Diener later, of course, but you didn't, I think there were about maybe 35, 40 fans there, 50 in and around there. It wasn't many. It was pretty sparse.
Yeah.
But you guys, you put on a match that I said to my buddies, I'm like, these guys are not, seducing the canine, so to speak. They're giving it their all. There was, you bumped, it was about, 12 minutes. Is that your philosophy, that, no matter what the size of the crowd, you're going to give her?
Yes and no. I want to be honest with you. I'm an honest guy. You hear Mick Foley say every match, and I believe it with Mick. He killed himself every time. No, man, honest to God, if there's 10 people in the crowd, I'm still going to entertain them, but I'm going to entertain them in a safe way for me. What you guys saw, I do remember that specifically. Cody and I were both feeling it that day, as in, like, we were dropped in. In that case, there's 40 people. We were into what we were doing, and you guys, it comes across, and that's again drawing that emotion from the crowd. If there's 10 people and it's well, for example, in the middle of Hamilton, this happened one time. 10 people showed up, and 5 of them were other wrestlers who were spying around. I'm not going to kill myself there. I mean, and I'm glad I didn't, because the bump card's a real thing. I'm old and broken now. I mean, I still bump my ass off most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't really call for it. You can still give the crowd their money's worth, and those 10 people still paid their money. So you got to give them something to think about, something to be happy about, and go home going, well, at least they entertained us. So, but there's ways to do it without dying. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever you did, it was an excellent match. Very impressive.
Sure. Thank you.
Your technical wrestling style, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know you're a legit martial artist, but you have this style that seems to blend, technical stuff, but then you can get down and dirty and do some brawling too. How did you develop this approach to your work, and did you have any influences in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know what it took to be a pro wrestler, but I knew I wanted to be one. So I joined the amateur wrestling club in high school, and I wrestled all through high school, and I wrestled a club team after high school. I just thought that's what you had to do. And and it has helped me in certain situations with certain guys who don't want to work with me. That's few and far between these days. Everyone's kind of with it, but it has happened. Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I always, like I said, I always want to go to Japan. Ken Shamrock was a huge influence on me. I always loved Ken Shamrock. I was a huge UFC fan too, the early days, like from day one. So I'm 10 years old watching these VHS tapes from the corner store, Hoist Gracie choking people out with triangle chokes, not knowing what it is and thinking it's cool as hell. So that was always something. And then the brawling, like I said, man, that's just the family business. That's what we do. Um, I don't really. I mean, Terry Funk's a good influence on me. I was always a big Cactus Jack fan, guys like that. But I mean, the jiu-jitsu stuff came after Japan when I needed something to kind of fill that void. But now I do that full time, and I coach jiu-jitsu and love jiu-jitsu too. So the shoot fighting has always been a big part of who I was, even before I was a wrestler, and definitely after I'm a wrestler, I'll still be doing that.
Cool. Yeah, we'll be talking about Ken Shamrock in a bit. This is kind of an open-ended question, but do you consider yourself to be a throwback? And the reason I ask that is a number of years ago when the latest version of NWA was starting, they put it out there. Name one wrestler that you think would be a good fit in, NWA, JCP, the early or the classic years. And I brought your name forward because I always thought you would have fit in like a glove there. Do you consider yourself, meeting that criteria?
Most definitely. I like that style better. I do that style better. I mean, the modern product is not really for me. I keep up on it a little bit here and there, and I'm not dogging it. It's evolution. I'm choosing not to evolve, because there's no way I can be Will Ospreay. But two, I just don't really enjoy that as much. I prefer the Tully Blanchards and Arn Andersons of the world to the Ospreys and the Ricochets. Man, I respect the hell out of those guys. There's zero chance I could be anywhere close to as good as them. I can barely do a cartwheel. But at the same time, to me, wrestling is not that. Not the wrestling. I shouldn't say wrestling is not. Wrestling is whatever you want it to be, right? Wrestling is art. You can't say, "Wow, that's a shitty painting." Maybe it is to you, but it's not to that guy. Where wrestling, yeah, Ricochet, not for me, but some other people love him. Will buy a ticket to go see him. I can't knock those people. My thing is the throwback wrestling. I love the throwback wrestling. I love the 80s style, the early 90s style. I fell in love with wrestling in 1996, the Hart Foundation and Shawn Michaels and those guys. So it's kind of a blend of the two Shawn was doing at the time. I love that stuff, man. And yeah, I can definitely see myself as one of those. It's why I love Rock Solid Wrestling so much, is that's the style we bring on purpose to the audience. Now we have stuff on TV now. We have an app called Watchy where we have a channel, which I'll plug later. But our stuff isn't TV wrestling, like you said, or your question earlier about hard cams and selling to this and doing that and blah, blah, blah. Our wrestling is drawing that emotion from the crowd like they used to do back in, where Norfolk Coliseum or, Greensboro or wherever. Back in those days, yeah. So I definitely would consider myself, and I appreciate you throwing my name out there. That would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost that by doing the style that you do, you stand out from the crowd because there are so many acrobats, and no disrespect to them. It's like you said, it's a matter of personal taste. But when you look at some of the guys, you mentioned Ospreay and Omega. Guys that have been, really injured, relatively young age. Do you wonder if that will eventually, because everybody's saying what's next, right? Do you think that'll eventually circle back to a more traditional style?
I think it has to. I mean, how much farther can you go with this, right? Like you said, those guys, they paid the price for that style of wrestling. Kenny Omega, from what I understand, I don't know the man. I have wrestled him though once. I wrestled him in Toronto at a convention randomly back in the day. He came in from Winnipeg and he was just a no-name guy like us, but good dude. Definitely paid the price for his style, and you see that now. He's very hurt, and it's sad to see. I hope he's made his money, and I hope he saved his money. There's always going to be someone willing to push the envelope, but again, the human body can only do so much. I can't fathom anyone being any crazier than Ricochet or Ospreay or Omega. I don't understand. Kota Ibushi, I don't understand how a human body can even do those things. So I don't really see how they can do more than that. The injuries, pro wrestlers are crazy. They don't care about that. I remember old guys telling me when I was young, hey man, you're going to feel all that when you're older. And I'm like, whatever, I know what I'm doing. Take that pile driver off the fucking apron through the table. Sorry, I swore. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but
Go ahead.
do I regret it now? Yeah, hell yeah, I do. In a way, it is what it is. That's how you learn. That's how you become a man and an adult and a grown up. Is you go, oops, I made a few mistakes there. Thank God I'm not crippled too bad. Basically.
Ash is asking memories of wrestling: Jim Duggan, Raven, and Kushida.
Wild. Who are these people? How do they know all these things?
Smart fans on Cheap Heat Productions, big time.
I love it. Well, shout out to that dude or girl or whatever. But okay, we'll start with Jim Duggan. Yeah, I was a brand new guy again, first year in wrestling. I went to an event in Collingwood, just hoping to get on the show. And Notorious TID, who's one of my wrestling dads, said, "Hey, this guy should wrestle Jim." And I'll be forever grateful because Jim, he's like a big old teddy bear grandpa. I've wrestled him probably 2 or 3 times since then. I did a match with him in I think it was Morrisburg or somewhere up near Ottawa. And I snuck a handsaw into the ring and I started sawing his 2x4 just to make him laugh. And it was good, man. Jimmy's a good guy. I wish him nothing but the best. Who was the second guy?
Raven.
Raven, yeah. Raven's an interesting cat. I've wrestled him twice too. Wrestled him in a cage match in Oshawa. Super fun. Wrestled him in a singles match in Oshawa. Someone just gave me the DVD, which I don't even have a DVD player anymore, but I remember the match is just me working on his leg for 20 minutes and he didn't really get off the mat. I take that as you will. I mean, I got nothing bad to say about the guy. He's a super good dude too, and very smart guy. Very great mind for the business and really awesome to talk to and listen to stories. Kushida is one of those guys, man. One of those guys where I don't even understand how this guy can do all the stuff he does. He's such a good wrestler. He helped me train to go to Japan down in Windsor with Scott D'Amore, and I'll be forever grateful to him. I remember getting to Japan and he was back there working for New Japan and I was working for All Japan. And I messaged him. I said, "Man, Kushida, I'm at the dojo now." He goes, "Very hard training." Yes, very hard training. So, Kushida, man, I'm happy to see him doing as well as he is too. Great guy.
Mm-hmm. This might be a difficult question, but one of the fans wanted to know. You've been on the indies for a long time. You've probably seen it all. Is there anything that jumps out in your mind as a moment? Either in the ring or out of the ring, maybe one of each or whatnot that stands out as a defining point in your career?
Oof. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good defining point in the fans' eyes or in my brain.
In your brain, I think is the intention there.
There's some instances where I took it too far. I got into that. How you say, what's Daniel Day-Lewis, the type of actor he is, method actor. I became Jake O'Reilly a little too much and got into it with a fan or this or that, and those are defined moments where they were negative things, but I learned from them and saying, hey man, you have to keep it below this level to keep it positive in there and give the fans what they want without going too far. It's not, as much as I wish it was, it's not 1985 anymore, so you can't start a riot. Even though the other wrestlers were like, man, that was so cool, this and that. I knew at the time, I mean, the business isn't like that anymore. And I tell young guys that too, man. You got to take it only to certain. I don't know if this makes any sense, what I'm saying, but in my head, as far as like other career-defining moments, I mean, going to Tilsonburg, wrestling Cody Deaner, we started with a crowd of maybe 50 people. Through emotional connection with the crowd, we built that crowd up to about 600 in a cage match. That is wrestling to me. That is pro wrestling. I mean, it's not anymore, Now it's WWE is what you're selling. But when I started watching, and before I started watching, it was about drawing fans, which we were able to do. I've done it with Cody a couple of times where we were able to draw big crowds with little crowds to start through a series of matches. I did it once with him in Welland as well. And it's so gratifying to see pro wrestling work. And then at the time, I thought I was good. I didn't know anything, but I knew enough where like that's a cool thing that we were able to. I'm good at wrestling, put it that way. At that point, I knew I was decent enough at wrestling to draw, 6 times the crowd we had the first show 9 months before that.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Putting butts in the seat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cody, you have such great chemistry with him in ring and even promo battles back and forth. I mean, you've wrestled each other, I don't know how many times for the Canadian title, et cetera, et cetera. What about that rivalry and about you two as individuals? What makes that click so well?
He's someone I respect as a man and a wrestler, and that's huge to me. I mean, not just in wrestling, but in life. I mean, I'll always be nice to you. I'm gonna help you out when I can. But if I don't respect you, I'm not gonna go out of my way for you. Cody's someone I respect. Cody's someone that's helped me learn wrestling. He's also a guy that's helped me learn life. I was like I said, the Irish family, a bit of a wild person growing up, and he's a man like, hey man, we were 35 years old, calm down. You know what I mean? In the ring though, Cody is he's probably him and Spears are right up there, two of my best opponents. Their connection with the audience is unparalleled, and that's my game, man. That's what I love, and I learned it from those guys. That's where it is. That's where the chemistry comes from, and certain guys you just click with too, and he's definitely one of them.
One of the rock solid shows that I saw, you were facing Cody, and Cody had the world's most dangerous man, which we touched upon, Ken Shamrock, as his enforcer backup, and you ended up exchanging fisticuffs with him, and went up and over with a beautiful belly to belly. What was it like working with Ken? And can you pull the curtain back a little bit and talk about how he was brought in and the experience with him in the company?
This is something I would never have done before, but like I said, you evolve, you get older, you pulling the curtain back's okay. I love that old school way of not doing that, but I mean, times have changed, business has evolved, and that's all good, which makes me happy because I can tell stories like this. So Cody and I are doing this submission match. They rock solid brings in Ken, and as I said earlier, he's one of my childhood heroes. I met a few of them. Most of my childhood heroes have been cool guys, with the exception of one dude. I'm not going to name him, but I was like, oh man, I just hope Ken's a cool guy, man. That's all I can ask for. I don't need him to do anything or whatever. Just him being a cool guy would make my day. So Ken, we watch him come in. We're working out in the ring before the show. Oh man, there's Ken Shamrock. I say under my breath to Cody, oh, that's so cool. And then we watch him, and he's back at the back. It's a big curling club for those of you who don't know. So it fits. I don't know how many, 600 people there that day. Ken's right at the back, and then as we're working out, he's slowly creeping to the ring. Like, oh man, he's gonna come talk to us. And then he's watching us work out. And then he goes to the back, whatever. So we walk in the back, we introduce him. Hey Ken, nice to meet you, blah blah. And he goes, man, I just got back from this indie. They didn't even know what a belly to belly suplex was. They didn't do any of this, blah blah. How long you guys been wrestling? And Cody at the time was like, I don't know, 20 years. I was like 18 years. And he goes, wow, yeah, okay, I can see that. You guys, that's, you know what? I'd like to get involved physically if that's okay with you guys. I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing. Whatever you want to do is fine. So long story short, I end up clotheslining Ken Shamrock's head off, and we get in a little punch exchange, and he suplexes me and gives me, the ankle lock to Asher Benjamin. It was one of the coolest experiences of my wrestling career. For me personally, for the young teenage Jake who's watching those UFC fights with all those early guys, and now I'm getting a clothesline kissing him off. And then we all go for dinner after. I mean, that's the story that makes me so happy. That makes all the bumps and bruises worth it. Stuff like that is like, it's all about, like, we're all wrestlers, man. We're all trying to basically relive our childhood every day. And that was one of the best experiences of my life for sure.
Yeah, my former company, we brought Ken in for an autograph signing, and he was class act. Yeah, I know what you're saying about guys that you're hoping that they're cool because you looked up to them and respected them, and
sure.
others have not met that grade, but Ken definitely was one of them.
Class act, man, like you said, 100%.
You've been in tag teams. You've been done a lot of singles work too. Two-part question: Do you enjoy one over the other? And secondly, isn't it a cool part about indie wrestling that there seem to be tag team matches still, because there doesn't seem to be a priority, and those of us of the same sort of vintage grew up really into tag team wrestling, and that doesn't seem to be a priority for the big companies anymore.
Tag team was always huge growing up, like you said. Road Warriors and Heart Foundation, British Bulldogs, all those guys. Excuse me. When I got back from Japan, I basically was a singles wrestler till I went to Japan in 2011. Excuse me again. I needed something new. Anthony Darko was there. He needed something new. We formed the Piss Beaters, which is a silly name for a tag team, but it basically, we were on a show with no people, like we talked about earlier, and they said, "What's your tag team?" And we're gonna beat the piss out of them. The guy's like, "Cool, Piss Beaters, good enough." So it stuck. It kind of started off as like, we'll do this here or there, and it turned into a real brotherhood where even to this day I can tag with Darko, and it's like I've never, we never came apart at all. We know where each other's gonna be. I mean, I was the best man at his wedding, like stuff like that. It's just. And then I started tagging with Tornado after with the Deadly Venoms, and it's kind of morphed into, we all tag together now, the three of us, and it's great. As far as one over the other, man, they're both beautiful things. They're both beautiful forms of art. To have a good tag team match is just, there's so many more moving parts. Like, you can throw 4 singles wrestlers in the ring together, and it can be good. But you get those Bulldogs and Heart Foundation matches, man, or like the Orient Express and the Rockers. Nothing beats that to me. Nothing beats that. Just the synchronicity and the working the crowd and the little things, and the add a manager like Asher Benjamin into that. It's nothing better. Do I like singles matches too? I'm a control freak. I like to be the boss in life and in wrestling. So I do as well. And right now I'm mostly on a singles kick, and I'm enjoying it. I go back and forth, which is nice. One refreshes the other, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, on this channel, we talk about supporting independent wrestling strongly. Do you think that the large, we'll pick on WWE again, but you mentioned managers. That's another good missing element, it seems. And then tag team wrestling, there's not, formal tag teams for the most part. They're thrown together guys. Do you think that even though the financial considerations are, well, you got to pay, 2 guys to do and 4 and the math like that, do you think that it could ever be viable on the big stage again, like with an actual division, like you're talking about, the Hearts, the Bulldogs, Killer Bees, Demolition, on and on and on?
I really don't understand why they condition their audience not to care about tag teams. Because, like you said, or like one of us said, or maybe both of us said, it's so entertaining to do a great tag team match. And if you allow those guys to tag for years and years, they get that chemistry where you can steal the show. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. Managers, I mean, you're talking about spending a couple extra bucks, like we talked about earlier. They're doing a million stables. What's the difference, right? Paul Heyman obviously is on the show, and there's the odd valet. But there's no, there's no Slick, Bobby Heenan, whoever else was a manager back in the day. I can't think for some reason, but I don't see why not. I think that should be developed too. Why can't a manager go to the Performance Center and learn the WWE style? It's more ways to make money and draw from the audience. And I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not alone. A lot of Laps fans point that out as one of the reasons. It's not the same product. No. Moving on to Japan and how that came about for you. It's really framed as a very unique challenge. A fan here is asking, though, a specific question. He
Okay.
says, Matthew saying, big fan. Memories of the AGPW tour you did in 2011, and then memories of wrestling a whole bunch of individuals there.
I can read them all.
Yeah, I'll put it back up if you want to see it again. But
I got all those dudes. Yeah. So, what was the question? I get the memories part. How did it come about? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, getting that being a goal of yours. How did you make that a reality and get booked over there?
I harassed Scott D'Amore nonstop for 2 years. Basically, once he, because I was already working for him for Border City Wrestling, which, I mean, starting wrestling, that's where you wanted to go independently in Ontario was Border City. It was the Mecca, and Scott knew everybody and still does. Once he started bringing the exchange students over, so Soya was one of them, another guy named Brutus Sai, Raijin, who did he wrestle? I forget how he wrestled over there as. He did a great Muda character in TNA, but Akira Raijin is his name. Once I saw that, I go, how do I get? Then they sent over Brad Martin, another dude who I won't mention, and I was like, I got to be on this train, man. This is my ticket. I know Scott. I'm gonna bug Scott and just harass Scott nonstop. Had Eric Young texting Scott, going, this guy would be great there. He's always wanted to go there. Johnny Devine, same thing. Another buddy of mine, Johnny, going, man, Scott, this guy would be good over there. And just wore him down. And finally he said, you know what? Come train in my school. We'll see if you have what it takes. We're going to put you through the paces. Oh, and you need a heavyweight to go too. And Spears had just been released from WWE. So I called him. I said, hey, man, you want to try out for All Japan? He goes, yep. So we went and we lived in Windsor at a dorm at one of the colleges. And we did squats and push-ups every day for weeks till we couldn't move. And I guess we won Scott's favor because he sent us there. And it was a dream come true, man. Wrestling, I had to wrestle Soya here in Oshawa to send to All Japan. They wanted a match on tape, and he worked me Japanese style. He can clothesline me right in the face. He cost me one of the worst concussions I've ever had in my life. I got to wrestle him and Sonata at Cork and Hall, which is like, for those of you who don't know, is like the Madison Square Garden of Japanese wrestling. Like that's everything's gone down. Everyone's in Hulk's wrestled there. Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, Kabashi, Masawa, Dynamite Kid, you name it, they wrestled there. Their names are on the wall that I got to sign. I wrestled Sonata and Soya there in a tag with Sean Spears. Kenso was my first match in Japan. I'm expecting this knockdown drag-out affair. Chris Jericho told Spears before, hey man, you can't take shit from those guys. You got to hit them back. They won't respect you. So here I am geared up for a street fight. And Kenso goes, hey, we work WWE style. Okay. Sure, man. He's an older dude. He just wanted to chill. So it was a great introductory match to Japan. Couldn't ask for better. I forget who else was on that list. Yeah. Joe Doring was one. I hope Joe's doing well now. I know he's had some cancer issues. He helped me out so much over there. He's so big and he's been Triple Crown champ, and he had no reason to let me do the stuff I did, jumping DDTs and this and that to him. He could have just squashed me, but he didn't. He was looking out for a brother, and I wish Joe nothing but the best. I hope he's doing okay. He is another guy. When I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu, he reached out to me. He's a jiu-jitsu guy too, from Hawaii, and congratulated me. And he was another dude, man, just a great guy, and made sure Spears and I got out with the boys and saw the culture a little bit. And because he was recruited from high school wrestling and trained over there with Kenta Kobashi, so he knew the ropes everywhere. We tagged with him, and it was a lot of fun. So, I mean, nothing but great experiences over there. Wrestling all those guys that were on that list. Just amazing talent, and everyone in All Japan was a great talent at the time. We were very blessed for that.
Mm-hmm. I have another fan question that they sent, and it's the obligatory rib story. Fans are very interested in those, of course. And what's the wildest one that you've ever either experienced or were the deliverer thereof?
I can't tell many of those. I'll tell one. We have a promoter named John. Hi, John. JH is his nickname. And so Darko and I, we actually worked together doing construction. So Darko and I were basically married. I spent more time with Darko than I did with my significant other at the time. And we were driving back from a job somewhere down in London area or something like that. Long drive. So we decided to find a poster, text it to JH and say, hey man, this is they're running a show in Collingwood, because he promotes the Collingwood show. They're bringing in all these names. Shane Douglas is on the show, Rhino, this and that, and he's losing it. And then we got Cody in on it, and we said, hey Cody, call JH and tell him you're taking the booking, because they're offering you $700 or something. He's like, oh, all right. Then we get John. Long story short, John almost had a heart attack, and we had to say, "Hey, buddy, listen, this is not happening. We're just bored in the truck, so calm down. Everything's fine." But we had him going, man. He was about to jump off the bridge, and we had to rein him in a bit. I mean, there's a ton of other ones. Again, that's kind of inside stuff that I don't really want to share. But anything you could think of has probably happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's as a promoter myself, that would definitely be heart attack worthy. So that is definitely that's definitely stiff ski. As a veteran, you've seen the industry evolve over 2 decades, and this might be a difficult question to boil down, but what's the biggest change aside from some of the aggressive parkour gymnastics that you've seen, and how do you stay so relevant and a force out there?
I don't think I am relevant, so thank you for that. I just do my thing and try and have fun and take matches and bookings that I know I'm going to have a good time doing, and a challenge, physically and mentally. Not so much physically, but mentally. Every wrestling match is a challenge physically. Changes since getting into wrestling is a lot easier now. It's basically become, there's a lot of how do I put this? And again, I'm not knocking it. It's just the evolution. It's become almost a fantasy camp for some people, where you can sign up for a wrestling school. They're going to take your money. They're going to train you. And then there's nothing stopping you from putting on your own show, or oftentimes the school will run shows too, and they're really subpar. There's nothing anyone can do about it. There's no point in getting mad about it. It is what it is now, because it's not like it was when I started or before I started, where, there was those wrestling police, we'll call them, who would not allow that to happen. It is what it is. Wrestling, like a lot of things in life now, is for everybody, and that's okay. All I can do is my own stuff and work for the promoters that I want to work for, and those other people, I hope they're having a good time, and I hope they're trained well enough where they don't get hurt, and they can tell their friends and family, hey, I did a wrestling match, and that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on your career, you've hit so many personal goals and have, quite a very top level body of work out there. But what do you have left to accomplish, or would you like to accomplish, and how do you plan to make that happen?
I've accomplished all my goals in wrestling. I can honestly say that and sleep at night knowing I've done it all and more. Wrestling now for me at 22 years in the business is good friends, that emotional connection with the audience that you can't get at a day job. If your day job is bagging groceries, you're not getting emotion from the lady you're bagging the groceries with. But I get to go get paid to go in that ring and make that dad who has his arms crossed and hates pro wrestling, but his kid wanted to go. By the end of the night, he's yelling at us, or has tears in his eyes, or he's got a big smile on his face. Man, that to me is unparalleled. It's so fulfilling to do that now. That's what I look for. A couple of beers with the boys after, and that's good for me. It's, to me now, it's not a knock against what I'm doing, because I still do it. I feel at a high level, but it's more like men's league hockey, right? Where I've accomplished all my goals. I've done it as a job. I've wrestled all over the world. I've met a lot of cool people, and now I get to do it for fun with my friends and get paid for it, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Where can the fans follow you on the ubiquitous socials, and
Yeah.
what do you have coming up in terms of events or whatnot that the fans should know about?
Yeah. What is it? At Jake O'Reilly 15 on Instagram is the best way to check out what I'm doing. Right now, you're going to get a lot of Ozzy Osbourne content. God rest his soul. But yeah, that's where you're going to find out my next events. I think next we have Park Hill Fair down in Park Hill, Ontario. Don't know who I'm wrestling there. After that, Rock Solid is going to be in Kirkland Lake. That's August 23rd. I believe Cody Deaner is once again challenging me for the title, which I am the champion. So those are my next two big events. We got Angus September 6th. Angus, Ontario, September 6th, which is really close to my hometown. So it's basically a hometown show for me. So that's another fun one. And that's another thing, man, getting your friends and family to come out and see what you do. And back to your previous question, I thought I was good at 5 years in. I thought I was good at 10 years in. I thought I was okay at 15. Now at 22, I'm like, oh, I finally get this. So it's really neat that I'm not crippled enough and I can still, now that I think I know what I'm doing, and maybe if I make it to 30 years, I'll go, man, that 22-year guy didn't know what the hell he was doing. Who knows? But right now, I feel like I'm top of my game, so it's a lot of fun to perform at the top of my game.
Well, fans, if you're in the Ontario area, of course, not our Irish fans, but if you're in the Ontario area, I really encourage you to check out Jake. Extremely entertaining, solid guy in the ring, and the company Rock Solid Pro, as I've said, I've checked out numerous times. Great little company. Never ever do the fans leave disappointed, and I think your presence is a large part of that. So I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Yeah. Before you cut this off, let me plug Rock Solid Pro a little bit. They're my home base. We just signed a deal with a streaming service, so you can watch Rock Solid Pro for free on the Watch TV app. You can get it on Roku, Amazon, Apple TV. Basically anywhere you can find it, you can get it for free. Watch Rock Solid 24/7. That's the Watch TV app. That's what I would do if I were you people.
Yeah, if you enjoy, the old school, not old school, it's not outmoded, but if you enjoy a solid traditional pro wrestling product, Rock Solid's a great company. Jake, thanks once again for coming on this evening.
Thank you, Jack, man. It was a great time. Anytime. Let's do it again.
Appreciate it. We'll talk after. Fans, that's it for this edition of the Cheap Heat Productions podcast. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Cheap Heat Productions. Don't forget to hit the notification button and you won't miss any of our upcoming interviews,